What up? My name is Joshua Vides. Some people know me as an artist. Some people know me as an entrepreneur. Today, we are here sitting in front of my 1995 Porsche Carrera Base 2. Exterior painted Schwartz black. Interior is cashmere leather. I got this car 2020. It was absolute COVID shutdown to the point where I couldn't even go see the car. The car was in Texas. I was looking for a 911 around that time. Because of COVID, everything was just like slashed in half with prices. And so I felt like it was the right time to go get one. I stumbled upon this, listing, and I contacted the person that put it up, and it was crickets. And after like 2 months of just blind searching, the guy who put it up hit me back. And he's like, hey, sorry, I haven't replied to you. I've been on the fence about selling it week after week, kind of going back and forth, getting a PPI done. I made him an offer, and he countered. I made another offer. And funny enough, while we're having this conversation, he goes, hey, dude, I Googled you. What's up with these baseball cards you just came out with? And I was like, oh, we just had come out with these Topps baseball cards where I was allowed to kind of redo these very iconic baseball cards. And he was like, I'm a huge fan of baseball cards. I've got a huge collection, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe we can make a deal here where we get to the price that you want, and maybe you slide me some baseball cards. Fortunately, I was able to shave off like $15,000 off of the car. And so it was just like the craziest, perfect deal. I gave the guy some signed baseball cards, and the transaction was complete. For the most part, any car that I have, I try to keep either bone stock or kind of like an OEM plus version of the vehicle. Some of the modifications I did here, first was suspension. I did Öhlins coilovers, which dropped the car about 2.5 inches. I then swapped the stock wheels to the 18-inch turbo twists and threw on Toyo Proxy R888Rs and a Pfister 3 exhaust. Other than those three things, the car is completely stock. All original paint, headlights, you name it, the steering wheel, odometer, nothing's been touched. And I try to drive it as much as possible. It's one of my favorite cars. It's probably the most visceral experience that I've received from any car that I've owned. I obviously keep her garaged and just try to keep her tucked away and safe. But I think at this point, it's kind of one of the cars that I don't think I could ever sell. In 1995, only, I think, 3,540 Carrera Base 2s came to the States. So really, you're looking at one of, less than 4,000 cars here in the United States that is still in this condition, hasn't been tracked ever. There's no crazy, wing on it that didn't come with it. The engine pushes 272 horsepower. It's a 3.0 liter, straight six. And for those of you that do know or don't know, it's the last air-cooled engine that Porsche produced. And so now it's become this like collector, very sought after kind of car. After the 964. This car specifically, I like to drive up to Arrowhead, which is a lake maybe 45 minutes from here. You're on the freeway for about 20 minutes, and then for the next 25 to 30 minutes, you're just on a binding, crazy road that goes uphill. So obviously, you got 2 lanes, which you can split if you want to be that guy, and then on the way down, it's just obviously way funner. But that's probably the best drive for me in this specific vehicle. I don't really enjoy being on the freeway too much with this car. One is I'm scared as shit that someone's gonna hit me because it's a tiny car. And 2, I'd rather be playing with the curves, with the chassis obviously that this has. What's really interesting about the 993 that a lot of people might not know about is that the 964 came out, which was today a huge, sought after car also. But the reaction to the market wasn't what Porsche was expecting. They thought the face looked flat. They thought that the lines weren't smooth enough. And so their goal with the 993 was to generate a vehicle for the same exact price or cost, but implement a new face and rear. And so technically, the roof and the door panels are the exact same spec as a 964. All they did was tilt the headlights a little more and kind of gave it a softer edge on the rear. And then this ended up being a huge hit. And so Porsche was super excited about it, that they were able to not only make what they thought was a nicer looking 911, but they also were able to implement the engine that was in the 989 to technically also give it more of this like race car kind of feeling. There's a lot of history within Porsche that was done between the years of the 993, from implementing similar design with light tweaks and adjusting the power but keeping the same price point. After the 993, it's basically been impossible for them to do that. So, you know, now every chassis that comes out looks a little different from each other, more than the difference from the 964 to the 993. It's a timeless, classic, almost everybody I know wishes they had one kind of car. And fortunately, you know, I'm in the position to have not only bought one, obviously the story behind it's pretty awesome too. Hopefully, you know, 30 years from now, I'm still driving her around and kind of telling this story of how much I care about this car. So.